I've been asked several times recently where I find my inspiration for things that I may cook, for things that I can, for things that I may preserve in other ways, for gardening. And truth be told, there are so many different places to find inspiration. So I thought we'd take a little time today and go through some of those. And I hope that after this little chat, you leave filled with inspiration. Welcome to Grow and Preserve. I'm Carter, and I'm so glad you're here today. Let's get into this. It's going to be a fun one. Let's start with YouTube channel, shall we? I've been a YouTube fan for a long time. I have learned a ton from YouTube. And there are a few channels that stand out to me if you ask what inspires you, who inspires you on YouTube. And I think that these people and their channels deserve a huge shout out from tiny little me. So let's talk about those first, and then we'll get into other places I find inspiration. All right, so let's talk about some of the bigger channels first. You probably know most of these, you may watch most of these, and then we're going to move on to some smaller channels. And I hope today I'm going to introduce you to at least one or two that you don't know yet, but you will soon. All right, bigger channels. The Seasonal Homestead. This is Becky and Cam. They are in Arkansas, Zone 6B, with a giant garden. She is a mother of several children. She's young and beautiful, and she is out forking the fields 9 months pregnant. I mean, this woman, she does everything. She can do it all. She has an apron with her little pregnant belly, and she is canning up stuff. They preserve everything. Her goal is to grow and preserve everything that they eat throughout the year. Now, I don't know that they're completely there yet, but she does an excellent job. And I find her, Becky, very inspirational in her approach to life. She has this calm, beautiful demeanor, and maybe she's stressed and frantic behind the scenes, but I find her to be so enjoyable to watch. So, the Seasonal Homestead, I'll link all these down below for you. So go take a look at that one if you don't know it yet. She has a great pantry tour, by the way, so go watch that one. Okay, we have to talk about Three Rivers Homestead and Jessica. She gardens and raises her family in Ohio. She is a very hardworking woman. She has several children, and she gets so much done. It is truly an inspiration to me in so many different ways. So Jessica, she's the challenge queen. And her challenges can be difficult, but so worthwhile. So I find great inspiration from a couple of her challenges that she does. The first one is coming up here in August, and that is the Every Bit Counts Challenge, where every single day you preserve something. You commit to preserving something every day that you will use at a later date. So whether it's coming from the garden or you purchase it, doesn't matter. Scraps, it doesn't matter. Preserve something for a later day. Holding yourself accountable when you commit to that is fantastic, and it gets done, and you will not believe the amount of food you can preserve when you make that commitment. So that's a fantastic challenge. The other challenge she does is in January, and she includes February, and that's the Pantry Challenge. And I love that one. And so you eat from your pantry. You don't go to the grocery store. And this, to me, is a fantastic challenge because it forces you to find new ways to use the food that you preserved. And I love watching the channels who participate in this because there are so many different ways that they may use, ground beef, or they may use canned potatoes, or they may use marmalade, or they may use salsa, or whatever that isn't necessarily in my repertoire at the time. And there they are showing me how to do it. So I find that to be a great challenge. I look forward to that. I'll do that again in January, and I'm certainly going to do the Every Bit Counts Challenge coming up in August as well. So great inspiration from Jessica. Little Mountain Ranch, Chelsea, and her husband Dan. Chelsea's great. Chelsea also has several kids. She has this beautiful ranch. She has animals. She has gardens, a couple different gardens. She has greenhouses. She milks cows, and Chelsea's great, and she is so cute and so sweet and just has the best personality and just invites you in, and she talks about the ups and the downs. She is Canadian, and so she grows in a very short season, and yet she manages to get it all done, and then she manages to get it all preserved. She also has a great pantry, so go see her pantry tour. So I love to watch Chelsea, and I love to see what she does. All right, so let's move on to another one I know you know. That is Acre Homestead with Becky, and she gardens and preserves in the Pacific Northwest. And Becky is adorable. I love Becky. She's just so cute. So I love watching her garden exploits, but where Becky really shines for me is in her preserving and her cooking. She loves to try new recipes, and that is just straight after my heart. So I really enjoy watching her try a bunch of new recipes. She even does a lot of new stuff in the garden, tries different things, and she's just so open about what works for her, what doesn't work for her, and that she's learning along the way. And I just find that beautifully refreshing. So Becky's another good one at Acre Homestead. So that 1870s homestead is next, and these are in no particular order, just happened to be what popped into my mind. So Rachel does some great canning. They both do some great cooking. The gardening, I love it when Rachel is gardening. I love to see her garden and her harvest. I love her thought planning on gardening and what she's going to plant and how she focuses through and what she chooses to plant. All of that is just fantastic content to me. I love how she goes through her pantry. I love her pantry tours. I love her talk about how she likes to stock her pantry, how she stocks her freezer, what her plan is. Right now, this year, she's not gardening, which I find so very sad for me. But she's not gardening, and so she went through and she had to make sure that her pantry, including freezers and everything, was really going to last with, normal trips to the grocery store for 2 years. And I think that's great. All of her things that she thinks about and shares with us, that to me is very inspirational. All right, Simple Living Alaska. Eric and Ariel, the cutest couple on the planet. I'm sorry, they really are. They are just adorable. They do all these projects together. I love them. I don't care about a concrete pad for the wood thing machine. I don't care about that, but I watched it because I like these two so much. But my favorite things that they do is their cooking. They make some fabulous looking things. Ariel is an amazing baker. I'm not really a baker, but I love to see the beautiful things that she creates. They do some really amazing looking meals, and they always have fabulous sauces and big bold flavors. And it's always, it's on a campfire, it's on the wood stove, it's, in the middle of a blizzard, it's on this tiny little kitchen table. It's just, that's fantastic to me. They also garden in Alaska, so they have a very short growing season, and they have a big garden. At least they did at the last homestead, and I'm sure they will at the new one when they get it set up. They have a lot of produce coming in that they have to process very, very quickly. And boy, I tell you what, the end of their season when all that processing happens, I love that. I'm addicted to the channel at that time. So watch it. They have some very good things. They do a lot of very creative recipes, and I think they're fabulous. Let's see. Roots and Refuge. Can't not talk about Jess and Maya. Jess, I think, is fabulous. She is so open and so honest and can laugh at herself. And I find that very, very enjoyable, very pleasant. So I have learned a lot from Jess on gardening. Preserving I've been doing for many, many, many years. Gardening, food gardening, I've been doing for, 4 years maybe now. And I love it, and I just kind of dived right in. And my garden has grown and grown and grown. But Jess's journey and the things that she has taught me throughout the years have just been invaluable. She has a couple of episodes on seed saving, and that's really where I learned how to seed save. Back in the day when I had no idea. So anyway, Jess is great. She has tons of gardening tips. She is a pro. She still has things that don't go right, but that's gardening, and I think it's great that she shares those as well. She also, I think, is a fabulous chef. She'd probably call herself a cook, but she does some beautiful looking meals. She hasn't been cooking so much in episodes recently, but if you look back at some of her old stuff, she's done some great canning recipes. She does a roasted salsa that just looks divine. So I'm sure you know Jess. Take a look at her. Living Traditions Homestead with Sarah and Kevin. Again, another very cute couple. Love the gardening. They do a lot of gardening. They do a lot of seed starting. They do a lot of growing indoors in their sprout house. They do that for the farmer's market, but I love that they show all of that. Sarah has done several canning recipes that I've really enjoyed, or canning episodes that I've really enjoyed. She did one on ketchup. She did one on tomato sauce. She did one on Tabasco sauce a couple different ways. These are just the three that happen to stick out of my mind of things that I have thought, oh yes, that's fantastic, and I have saved them. All right, this next one you may not know. It's a smaller channel. It's bigger than me, but smaller compared to all of the others. Becoming a Farm Girl. Cassandra is the creator on that one, and she is just the cutest thing ever. You just want to go have lunch with her. Anyway, she has a way about her. She lives in a tiny townhouse, and so she gardens in green stalks. So she's not preserving a lot of produce or meat or anything, obviously, that she makes, but she goes out and buys it and she preserves it. And then she cooks it up, and she has some fabulous looking things. And she also has a blog that has all the recipes for the things that she does. So she is a tremendous inspiration, and she has some really creative things that she cans, and some really creative recipes that she makes. And she does a lot of, not freezer meals, like Becky does freezer meals, but kind of pop and go. She calls them freezer muffins or dinner muffins or something like that. Anyway, she's really cute. You need to go spend some time with Cassandra if you haven't. Becoming a Farm Girl. So I'll put that down below too. All right, so let's talk about some that are really strictly gardening and teach quite a bit. And I still learn. Well, clearly I'm still learning, but I learn a lot from these people. A lot. So I think you're going to find some in here that you know, and some in here that you've never heard of that you ought to get to know, or at least ought to go check them out, right? Okay, so let's start with the Ripe Tomato Farms. Jeff is in Canada. He has garden quickies in which he kind of walks you through a whole something, the life cycle of a tomato, or how to deal with pests, or when to fertilize, or how to grow strawberries start to finish, or growing garlic start to finish, dealing with climate issues. He's great. He's very concise. You get your bullet points. By the end of one of his little 2 or 3 minute videos, you're like, yes, okay, I got it. I can do that. Now I've got all my steps and I'm good to go. So if you don't know Jeff at Ripe Tomato Farms, give him a try, because he does some really good stuff. So the next one is Growfully with Jenna. I'll put that in the links down below as well. Jenna is in Ohio. She has a very large garden. She also gardens at her parents' house. She is also a seed tester for new seeds that companies are putting out, new varieties, that kind of thing. She has some great lessons on different parts of gardening. She talks a lot about garden chores and what you need to be doing when you need to be planting what. Now, at her, when you need to be planting what, and the timing of garden chores, that may be a little different than yours, because she is in Ohio, zone 6B, I think, maybe even 6A, I'm not sure. So go check out Growfully with Jenna. You'll have a list of chores to do, but that's okay. They're chores that you should be doing that you may not know you should be doing, but you're going to want to do those. The next one I love, and you may think I'm crazy, and I may be, but I love it. David laughs at me. This is Lazy Dog Farm with Travis. Travis is the son of Haas Tools. And so if you watch Haas Tools channel, up until, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that, I don't remember the timing, Travis was the spokesman on most of their videos. He did most of the videos. So at some point, Travis left the company, and I was like, oh no, where did he go? He's not there anymore. I didn't realize that there was a family connection. I didn't know what was going on. Anyway, at some point, 4 or 5 months down the line, YouTube figured out, hey, maybe she's gonna like Travis. So Lazy Dog Farm popped up, and there he was. And he does a great job. He runs trials on things. He talks about how he raises certain vegetables. He does the seed starting. He does fertilization. He talks about irrigation. He talks about, tilling versus no tilling, composting, worm farming, fig trees. He has so much life knowledge of being in the garden and growing food. He is a wealth of information. Now, you have to speak Southern in order to really understand everything he's saying. So I'm just going to warn you now. And you got to not be upset about the Georgia Bulldogs. So, if you're a Florida fan or an Alabama fan or something like that, you're going to have to learn to live with the Georgia Bulldogs. So anyway, go take a look at Lazy Dog Farm. Okay, there's another one I really enjoy, and I get great inspiration from their seed starting and from their planting and from their harvesting. But I get great enjoyment from the rest of it as well. So it's another one, kind of like Eric and Ariel on Simple Living Alaska, where even if I'm not interested in how they grind corn for the cattle or whatever, I watch it because I really like this little family. They are a family that they all kind of live together or are very close by. They all work together. They all eat together. They watch kids. They run the farm together. They run the farm store together. It's a delightful family, and they just seem so, I don't know, wholesome. I don't know. I think they're great. They may be horrible off camera, but I'm sure they're not. They're just as nice as they can be. So the Veggie Boys, you can laugh at me. David laughs at me for watching my farmers, but I think they're great. Let me see. Oh, no-till gardeners. Okay, Jesse. Jesse is full of information. Jesse is funny as can be. He has this dry sense of humor, and he makes fun of himself. Even he does it. It's almost stand-up comedy, but it is so chock full of information, and he walks you through exactly how they got to where they are, why they did what they did, what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and he covers all kinds of things. He covers irrigation. He covers crop rotation. He covers composting. He does how they market farm, because that's what he is. He's a market farmer. So how they pick, how they plant. He's a wealth of information, and pretty funny too. Okay, here's another one. This is the Millennial Gardener. He does a lot of tests. He compares a lot of things. He compares a lot of varieties. He compares a lot of conditions. He compares organic fertilizers to regular chemical fertilizers. So you get a lot of different information from him. He's really good at figuring out which varieties of things he really likes, and he goes all in on these things. And so I mentioned in another video that I just had this seed haul. I went down this little rabbit hole because he has some favorite things that he's been talking about recently. So the peppers and the tomatoes, and so anyway, so I have a whole new batch of seeds. But anyway, he's very good. He'll talk about shade cloth. He'll talk about building structures in your garden. So whether it is to provide, cover for the cold, or bug netting, or shade cloth, and he shows you how he builds everything. Does a lot of fig trees, has a lot of citrus. He is in North Carolina, on the coast of North Carolina. So anyway, he's interesting to watch as well. I get a lot of good information from him. All right, Hugh Richards. Okay, if you don't know Hugh Richards, you're missing out. Talk about a peaceful channel. Peaceful channel. It's calming. He's set in Wales, and he grows food not only for his family, but is also now participating in a cooperative growing food. And there are sheep in the background, and there are big pastures of green, and he has these, these TP trellises. It is just all so beautiful. He's in his 20s. I mean, he's in his 20s, and he has so much food growing wisdom. It's truly amazing to watch. So I get great gardening information and total inspiration from Hugh Richards. So take a look at him. And that's Hugh, H-U-W. So I'll put him down below as well, of course. Okay, Self-Sufficient Me is another one that I enjoy. I don't even know his name, but he is in Australia. And he has a huge container garden. But one of the best things about his channel for me is that when it's winter here and I don't have any gardening stuff going on, he's in summer. So I can watch fresh gardening content and be inspired as I think through, what seeds am I going to order? What am I going to plant? How am I going to organize my beds? What is it I want to do? So I love that his season is all set from mine, because it keeps me going through the winter. Okay, so now that we have shared the YouTube love, and I've given you all the details on who inspires me to be more, to do more, to grow more, to preserve more, to do more of the things I know I need to be doing. And they do an excellent job. And just an excellent job at that. Let's talk now about where the inspiration for the things that I actually cook, things that I actually can, the things that I serve, at parties, whatever. Let's talk about where those kind of ideas come from. Because they don't so much come from YouTube, although there are a couple of cooking channels where I do find some inspiration there, and I've mentioned those before. The first is restaurant meals and restaurant menus as well. There are so many restaurants where I have taken a picture of the menu because they have like a build a bowl or build a pizza or build a pasta, and it has all of the, the lettuce greens and all the other vegetables. It has roasted, it has raw, it has meats, it has dressings, it has all these different combinations. And I love things like that because I love to serve a big bowl of food, whether it's a big salad. Back in the day, it used to be a big, a grain bowl kind of things with all kinds of different toppings and great flavors and beautiful sauces, and had a little sweet, a little heat, a little crunchy, a little, I love to do stuff like that. And so having a picture of some menus with all those kind of different ingredients that you can kind of put together, that to me is priceless. So next time you're at a restaurant where they have one of those kind of build a bowl kind of things, or kind of I would say build a pizza, but not just the the pepperonis and the green peppers and the black olives and that kind of thing, but like a gourmet pizza specialty something or other. Just take snapshots of these menus. You may not use them right away. I keep a little file on my phone, and I have lots of these menus that I can go back and take a look anytime. So salads and grain bowls and pizzas, pastas. I've done appetizers. They have a lot of fun appetizers. If they have veggie dishes, sometimes the descriptions on a menu just sound so amazing. I mean, they could be describing how they're going to serve the Brussels sprouts, and you just want to go, oh yes, please, give me that. So I like to keep all of that, and I go back to it all the time, and I use those ideas regularly. So, and most of the time they work out really, really well. We're not reinventing the wheel. This restaurant has done it, and they do it well enough that people are willing to pay for it. So I can easily do that at home and not have to pay restaurant prices for it. So that I really, really enjoy. So the other thing is that we have a few restaurants we go to. We don't go out very often, but I do tend to collect my favorite things at these restaurants. So I've done a few of these for you. I have done the brisket tacos, that my kind of copycat recipe for a place called Mojo's Tacos here in Tennessee. I have done the kale salad with apple and fennel, which is my copycat recipe from the Atlanta Fish Market kale salad. I've done chicken flautas from another Mexican place in Atlanta that we used to go to. So I've done a few of those, and I love to take inspiration from things that we love at restaurants, because if I can save $50 by making it at home and it's just as good, and I know the ingredients I'm putting in there, I know where they came from, I know how they were raised, I know exactly what I bought and what I'm using, I feel great about that and can come up with some things that I wouldn't ordinarily come up with on my own. So when you're eating a meal in a restaurant that you really, really like, whether it's the first time you're having it or the 12th time, like what I do, think through, taste all of the ingredients in there. If there's a salad dressing, really focus on that salad dressing. What's in there? What are all the little pieces and parts that you may miss if you're just eating and talking and whatever? So really focus on dissecting what it is you're eating and the different flavors involved and how you could recreate that at home. So I do a good bit of that. And honestly, I think we end up having restaurant quality meals fairly often at home for a heck of a lot less money than going out. So anyway, so that's a really good one for me. Oh, and I also have a girlfriend who is a big foodie, and so she loves to send me pictures of beautiful things, whether it's an hors d'oeuvre or salad or it's a main course and it has all these little bits, and she describes it to me and she sends me pictures of the menu. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm making that one. So I can also go off a picture and a description. And those end up, I don't really know if I'm capturing all the flavors that were in it, but I'm doing the best I can. And it always brings us something unique, something different to eat that night. And that to me, I really enjoy. So don't overlook the restaurants, both the food that you eat and the menu that they serve, how they describe their food, how they put it together, all the ingredients that are in it. Most of them are pretty good about talking through. Oh, and there's another thing too. There is a restaurant here in town, and they have a sauce. Because I'm dairy-free, if you order a steak, you have to say no butter, right? Because they always do a better finish. Or often they do a better finish on a steak, so I have to say no butter finish. So there is a Merlot, I forget exactly what it is now. I have it all written down. But anyway, there's a Merlot sauce that they served me instead with my steak. Oh my goodness. It was fantastic. So while the chef would never have shared with me exactly what was in it, my waiter was a wannabe chef who'd gone to culinary school. And so he was able to detail exactly what was in this. He didn't have quantities for me, but exactly what was in this and kind of how it was done. So that's also another great source. Talk to your waiters. Many of them are wannabe chefs. All right, let's move on to another one. Pinterest, we should talk about Pinterest. I guess Pinterest, I don't know, maybe it's passe these days, I don't know. But I enjoyed Pinterest. I can type in exactly what I'm looking for and come back with a whole bunch of suggestions, some of which match what I'm looking for. So I do find new websites, new recipes, new blogs, whatever, that can help me formulate ideas that are new to me that I know I want to lean towards. So I use it for that. All right, we're going to get into my books here in a minute. The other thing, inspiration can be what I have in my house that I need to do something with. So I'll have like a few items left from a recipe and I didn't need those. or somebody gave me, you know, something, a bunch of blackberries or a bunch of cherries or whatever it is, and I'm like, I don't have anything planned for that. And so you can Google that, you can Pinterest that, you can, you know, search on YouTube, whatever. But sometimes that inspiration starts with what I have on hand, and it develops into something that involves other things I have on hand. Because if I have something I need to take care of, I don't want to go out and buy something else to go with it to make something out of it, right? It's kind of like you go buy a skirt and you get home and you realize you have no tops to go with it. So then you go buy a top and then you end up hating the skirt, or you donate the skirt, or the skirt rips, or whatever, and then you have this top and it doesn't go with anything. So I don't want to do that. I want to make use of what I have in my kitchen, and sometimes that can really inspire creativity, right? You know, you have 3 plums, which I have 3 plums today, so I'm going to be making something with those that you'll see coming up. You know, what do you do with 3 plums, for heaven's sakes? So anyway, we're going to do something fun with it, but it inspired creativity, and it sent me on a search, and I Googled, and I went through some cookbooks and some preservation books. So we'll see what I came up with. Very simple, but something that would not have been the first thing to come to my mind. So we'll see. All right, let's talk about the books now. I am a book lover, absolute book lover. So we're going to talk about, we'll do the obligatory canning books, but when we're talking inspiration, cookbooks are my passion. And I get great canning inspiration from cookbooks, and inspiration on how to use some of my canned goods from cookbooks, and how to put together meals from cookbooks, even if I'm not following the recipe. And more often than not, I'm not following the recipe. It just becomes, you know, fodder for creativity. All right, so let's talk about some of these. All right, we're going to start by talking about kombucha. I haven't done a lot on kombucha on this channel. I have done it a couple of times in the midst of other videos and talked about my process and kind of showed it to you a little bit, but I haven't done a video specifically on kombucha. I'm happy to do so if you'd like one. But I love kombucha, and I make a lot of kombucha, and we drink a lot of kombucha. And this book right here is like, it's called the Big Book of Kombucha, but it's like the kombucha Bible. So much inspiration in all the different things that you can put in your kombucha, ways to use your kombucha, what to do with old scobies. And I have like 6 or 7 old scobies right now. But just absolutely, it's just fantastic. So that is a great book if you're interested in getting into kombucha. It is super easy. It is not scary beyond the first batch, so not to worry about that. But this has so much inspiration on different drinks you can make, and these are really, you know, for the most part, our cocktails these days are, you know, kombucha. All right, now we'll do canning books, and then we'll get on to my favorite, which is the cookbooks. All right, I have a lot of canning books. I mean, I really have a lot of canning books. I have a lot of cookbooks too. I'll show you my little cookbook shelf here. Okay, so we're going to start with canning cookbooks. I'm not sure I'd necessarily say that these are tremendous inspiration for me, but in order to make sure I've covered it all, I'm going to include them. These are my top 4 go-to at the moment. I have a lot of canning books, and I do still use them all, but one of the first places I'm going to go to is one of these if I have some kind of idea running around the back of my head. All right, so the first one, I know almost everybody has, is the Ball Book of Home Preserving. This one is great, particularly on water bath recipes. You can do anything with fruit and sugar. It's in here. But there are a lot of sauces and things, and every now and then I flip through and I find something that I've missed before. I have made, you can see this is a well-loved book. I have made, oh my gosh, I don't know, several dozen recipes out of this book, and I have all my notes on all the recipes, and it's just, I don't know what I'd do if I lost all my notes. But anyway, this is a great one, and I use it all the time. The all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving is a little more hip, if you will. It gives you a little more freedom and still, be blessed by the canning gurus on what to do, but it has some fermented stuff. It has trade in and out options for salsas and chutneys and things like that. It actually allows you to use fresh lime juice, fresh lemon juice, which, was totally not acceptable in this one. So this one's really good. If you don't have this one, I think that this one has come a long way. It doesn't have nearly as many recipes as the other one, but it does have, I don't know, some more current recipes, I guess I'd say. And then it also has recipes on using some of the things that we have canned in this book. So this is good. I've done several canning recipes from this one. I like this one a lot because it offers some flexibility. Now, preserving with Pomona's pectin, because David really tries to not eat any sugar at all. I prefer to not eat any sugar at all. This has been a lifesaver. I mean, really a lifesaver to me, because with regular pectin, without the sugar, it won't set. And even low sugar recipes, according to Ball, can have, 6 or 7 cups of sugar in them, and you're doing, 6 or 7 pints of food, and you're like, wait a minute, how in the world can that be low sugar? This one actually is, and I have substituted sugar in this one with allulose is what I use, but there are several different options that they give you in here. All you really need is something to dissolve the pectin in before it hits the hot liquid. Or not necessarily dissolve. It can be dissolving if you're using a liquid honey, say, then you want to dissolve it in there. But just to mix it in. I mix it in with powdered allulose, but you could use, there's several different things, stevia, a couple of other things they use in here. So this one has been really tremendous for me, and you see me use this a lot during the summer when I'm preserving fruits and I'm doing chutneys and conserves and jams and jellies. I've done so many from this book, so many. Okay, so my newest addition to my canning book collection is this one, Pressure Canning for Beginners and Beyond. She has a lot of fun recipes in here. She has what I call meal starters, where it is, like it's a seasoned meat, and then you build out the rest of your meal on it, but at least the meat is all seasoned and prepared and ready to go. And she has some complete meals in jars. She's the first one to ever get me to do baked beans. So anyway, I think that this has been a really good addition. She has some really good recipes, and so if you're looking for some easy meals on the shelf or great meal starters, she's a good one for that. All right, let's move on to cookbooks now. I have a real passion for cookbooks. I love cookbooks. I have always loved cookbooks. I can sit and read cookbooks, and I can read them several times, and I can go through them, and I can go back and forth, and I can go, okay, that was from this cookbook, and David is like, what are you doing? But I love them. I don't often cook recipes straight from a cookbook. There are some I will, particularly if they involve substitution type ingredients or any baking, because I'm not a baker by nature. I need a recipe if I'm going to bake something. Once I'm finally comfortable with it, I can go off recipe a little bit, but baking is not my thing. Cooking is my thing. I like to just throw stuff together, but that inspiration has to come from somewhere, the knowledge of what goes together, the creativity, and it comes from the cookbooks that I read. So let's talk about some of them. Well, this is my newest one. I'll get to that in a minute, but let's talk about some really fun ones. All right, we're going to go back. This is my oldest one in this grouping. This is Made Whole by Christina Kirk. She grew up cooking in her grandma's, I think it was her grandma's, could have been her mother's, but I think it was her grandma's diner, basically. And she is a Latino seasoning goddess. I mean, she is, you want flavor, she's got the flavor. She's absolutely fantastic at that. This one, if you are paleo, if you are keto, if you are AIP, if you're any of those kind of special whole foods, diets, whatever, dairy-free, all of that, this is a great cookbook for you to branch out and make that kind of restricted eating so palatable and really a lot of fun. You can see I use this a lot. I've made so many things out of this. And this is one, quite frankly, where I do follow a lot of the recipes because it would never occur to me to include so much cumin or so much, what she doesn't use paprika, but so much of whatever it is, or combine things in a way that I never would have thought. So she's fantastic. So this is a good one, but I get lots of great inspiration on this, how to use my canned foods. Like this is her taco salad. Well, you know, that can start with my canned ground beef, right? Add all of her seasonings and it just tastes delicious. Savory meat pie, again, another one that can start with my canned ground beef, add her seasonings, and I make something absolutely wonderful. Let's see what else she's got. Oh, okay, Vika Frida? I don't even know how to say this. But, so my raw pack canned stew meat is the perfect base for starting this recipe. So this to me is very exciting. Beef carnitas, again, with the beef stew meat that I use. This is, let's see. What else I have for you? There we go. Crispy Kahlua pork and Korean vegetable salad. So I have some raw pack canned pork. Again, the perfect base for a meal like this. So I find great inspiration from Christina, from this cookbook, changing up all the flavors and using the things that I have in my pantry. So that is a real winner if you like that kind of thing. Now here's some fun ones. Eating out loud. This is Middle Eastern, great flavors. I mean, just absolutely fantastic flavors. Things that in my little southern brain I would never think about, right? So this is great. Super tremendous flavors. Lamb flatbread with pomegranate and mint. Well, I may not have lamb, but I do have ground beef. I do have ground pork. I have all kinds of things that I could use to make something similar to this. I may not have pomegranates, but I may have blackberries. I may have cherries. I may have something else that would work. So, you know, when I said I don't necessarily follow a recipe exactly, I use what I have and I just take inspiration from whatever this is. But tell me that is not inspirational. That just looks fabulous. A couple of other wonderful ones. Okay, tomato mustard seed jam and satara toast. So I just made a tomato jam. So it's different than this tomato jam, but what a great way to serve it. I take inspiration from that. Let's see. Okay, from the garden. Slow roasted and fresh cherry tomato salad with feta, basil, and honey. That is stunningly beautiful. I don't eat dairy, but I take great inspiration from that. I can make something just as good as that. So in this one I find lots of great ways to use different seasonings to turn vegetables, just plain old vegetables, into something wonderful. This is roasted Romanesco with pistachios and fried caper vinaigrette. You know, so I can pull stuff out of my pantry and turn Romanesco or cauliflower or broccoli or whatever into something really cool like that. And here's one. You all know I'm all about my crispy potatoes. Well, here they are, crispy smashed potatoes with chimichurri and urfa. I don't even know what urfa is. I'm quite sure I don't have any in my pantry. But I could certainly take my jar of potatoes, do them smashed, make them crispy like I always do, and I could make some chimichurri and add it on top. How delicious does that look? So find inspiration in, I don't know, everywhere. Love and lemons, this is another great one. If you're looking for ways to make your produce really exciting, if you're a big grain eater, there's some fabulous grain bowls and other ways with pasta and with rice and with couscous and all that kind of stuff, but great on the vegetables. I mean, just great. I just do some really beautiful things with vegetables. Charred cauliflower pitas with halloumi and harissa. Just some really fun, creative ways to make vegetables a bigger part of your meal. Now, I am a meat eater, and that's usually the largest part of my meal. But every now and then, I just want to do some veggies and have plenty of veggies. This is another option here. These crazy things that you see in the supermarket checkout line. Well, this one is great, Taco Tuesday. Well, I'm not going to do all of these, and a lot of them are very similar to each other, but I can flat out find inspiration for using my raw pack canned chicken. I can use my ground beef that has been canned. I can use the pulled pork that's been canned. I can use the raw pack beef, the stew meat. Great inspiration in things like these. And then here is my latest one. I've been kind of saving this one. I haven't really gotten into it yet. You see there are no stickies there. But this one just came. It's called Garden to Table Cookbook. And I am really excited that I'm going to find some wonderful things in here. Buffalo cauliflower. Well, I'm going to pass on the baba ganoush because I'm not a big eggplant lover. Greek Buddha bowl. I mean, how good does that look? So I know that I have probably talked your ear off, and I am sorry about that, but I am passionate about finding inspiration in cooking and canning in the kitchen, in the garden. I don't know. It makes me happy. So that's what I do. I hope that I was able to share some good resources for you today. I hope that I was able to inspire you to look in unusual places for your own inspiration. So I am grateful that you were here with me today. If you stuck through it this long, I am thrilled to death. You are a serious trooper. So if you enjoyed this, I hope that you'll share it with somebody. I hope that you'll use it. I hope that you'll take a look at some of these other YouTube channels that I mentioned, because they've added value to my life, and I hope that they can add value to your life as well. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.